Welcome to this morning's edition of Biker Angle, episode 721. If you'd like to support the show with $1 or two, you can do so by becoming a monthly contributor on our Patreon platform at Insane Throttle, or by a one-time donation on PayPal, topfuelabd@gmail.com. Those watching on Instagram TV, IGTV only allows 10 minutes of upload time, so you can watch the full show on our YouTube channel at Insane Throttle, bikernews.com. Don't forget, today at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, episode 38 of Motorcycle Madhouse hits the air, and it's one that will present a frank and honest discussion about what decisions you really need to take into account before joining an MC. So, let's hit the news of the day. Members of the Hells Angels and rival Outlaws came head-to-head in two separate incidences. This from the Waterloo region. Members of the Hells Angels and rival Outlaws came head-to-head in two separate incidences in Port Denver last week at Friday the 13th. Bike event, it says. It's just coming out now, go figure. Police gave few details Friday except to say that in both instances there were threats of violence and intimidation between Hells Angels and Outlaw members. The OPP wants the public's help in finding out more information. Of course they do, so they run to the newspaper. Quote, there were rival gangs there, and that was very concerning to us, said Detective Staff Sergeant Anthony Renton, head of the OPP Biker Enforcement Unit. Renton says, Friday the 13th attracted more than 200,000 bike enthusiasts, most of them law-abiding. Police wouldn't say where the bikers came from. In Waterloo region, there is a long-standing Hells Angels chapter and its support club, the Stolen Souls of Cambridge. Quote, at this time, there's no outlaw chapter in the Waterloo region, Redden says. But outlaw members could live locally and be part of another club elsewhere, he said. The Port Denver event is a street party which is historically well attended by the Hells Angels, police say. This year also saw outlaws, lots of them. Quote, they have not attended for several years, Retton said. Police wouldn't say how many gang members were in the beach town, but there was a significant presence. Retton said the bike event at Dover is a boon for people selling biker swag. That's something I haven't heard in a long time. Many in the crowd buy t-shirts and souvenirs highlighting the day, but police remind buyers to think twice about purchasing biker clothing and supporting criminals. Quote, there's a difference between what they, motorcycle enthusiasts, are selling and what the outlaw motorcycle clubs are selling, he said. Hells Angel biker clothing will say Support 81, which refers to the Hells Angels. The H being the 8th letter of the alphabet, while the A is the first letter. Well, thank you for that, Mr. Wizard. You are putting yourself at risk by buying a rival gang member's product, he said. This dude is on some shit, man. They smoking some good shit up in Canada, man. Many people see the items and don't appreciate what it exactly means by purchasing it, he said. They don't realize they are supporting a criminal organization. Quote, it just looks like a fun piece of clothing, he said. Retton said there have been instances in the past when people have been intimidated in order to remove the clothing. Officers from 20 different police services who are a part of the provincial OPP Biker Enforcement Unit were on duty in Port Denver, including Waterloo police officers. This is a huge event, and we have our hands full to make sure people are safe, Retton said. Quote, it comes with tense moments when you have rival biker gangs in the same area and you are surrounded by that many members of the public, he said. Then they go on requesting information, giving a phone number for the Crime Stoppers and all that good jive. Does anybody notice how the media, I have to add, the mainstream media works along hand to hand with cops when it comes to bikers? It's really sickening. You only see one side of the story. You never see the club side of the story. The mainstream media never reaches out to a motorcycle club. Now, they can claim they do, but they don't, because they're pushing an agenda. That's what they're doing. It's working hand in hand. You know, that's kind of like socialism. And at the end of the video, you know, we're going to be talking about that socialism because Bernie Sanders came out and said, well, his view is now mainstream in the Democratic Party, which his view is socialism. And he even admits it. At least the dude don't lie. You know, now he has that new superstar, that, you know, Clueless Cortez, or whatever her name is. You know, she's a joke. She is really a joke. But anyways, going back to this. It is really unsettling when the police and the media work together and both sides of the story are not given to the general public. That is the reason why clubs have got, you know, the reputation they have had over the years. Personally, even in 1%er clubs, and you know what, I'm a nobody, I'm an independent, but why not have a PR person? You got to get your PR out there. You really do. Because when stories like this hit, you got to be able to push back. Especially when you have rogue members go out and cause problems in the community, and that gives the mainstream media and the cops the perfect excuse to bang on you. So a PR person might be something you might want to think about, because there's nothing better than fight your case against these people in the media, you know. So just my two opinions. But moving on, for those on Instagram TV, again, I only get 10 minutes with you guys here until they push up the time period. So if you want to watch the rest of the show, go over to our YouTube channel at Insane Throttle Biker News. Don't forget to subscribe. We're really killing it on subscribers now. So really appreciate the help over there. But I'll see you guys over there for those who are on IGTV. And we're moving on. So, if Harley Davidson isn't made in America, is it still a Harley Davidson? U.S. President Donald Trump may be pursuing his America First agenda, putting higher tariffs on foreign products to prioritize domestic ones. But whether a product is local or foreign made won't stop American consumers from buying some, says one observer. Well, that's evident since, you know, everybody knows Harley Davidson ain't all American made. They get their fucking parts outside this country. But, you know, the loyalty bullshit. Anyway, and you know what? I'm not banging on it because I've owned Harleys all my life and I got an 01 Fat Boy now and I love the bike, but the company I hate. Anyway, West Virginia. Harley Davidson was one of the president's favorite companies less than 6 months ago. Now it's the latest business to feel his wrath. That's because on June 25th, Harley Davidson announced it will move some of its production overseas. Cocksuckers. The iconic American motorcycle brand said it was doing this to avoid retaliatory tariffs imposed by the EU in response to U.S. import taxes. A Harley Davidson should never be built in another country. Never, President Donald Trump tweeted. Their employees and customers are already very angry at them. If they move, watch. It will be the beginning of the end. Well, he got some of that right already, Harley's. You know what? What people don't understand is Harley only has 50% of the big bike market in the United States. Other than that, Harley don't got shit worldwide, and you'll see. Back in February, things were very different at a meeting with executives at the White House. Trump praised Harley-Davidson for being a true American icon, one of the greats, and thanked them for building things in America. Trump's anger at Harley's announcement is understandable. He wants to promote Harley-Davidson for his American First agenda, which, you know what, if you're an American, we should come first. I don't care about your liberal ideals and shit like that, your pansy snowflake crap. America first. The goal of this approach is to protect and create American manufacturing jobs, with Harley taking the production of its EU-bound bikes abroad. This does not look like a success for Trump. But in a world that depends on global supply chains, what makes a product truly made in America? Is Harley really an all-American bike? Who cares, goes the commentator. Yeah, well, I care. Made in America. For consumers hoping to figure out if a product is made in America, it's trickier than you'd think. Products like American soybeans or corn are even pretty clear-cut. They are grown and harvested in the U.S. by American farmers. We love our farmers. In states like North Dakota and Iowa. The only inputs are seeds, land, fertilizer, and water, all of which are easily found in the U.S. American-made clothing, on the other hand, becomes more ambiguous. Even when a garment is sewn in a factory in New York or Los Angeles, earning its Made in America tag. The fabric or thread may have been spun in Bangladesh or India with American-grown cotton. Well, that's because your idiot Bill Clinton, or Wild Willie as I call it, he brought up that NAFTA shit, and next thing you know, our textile industry's overseas. So, there you go, Democrats, you gotta love them. U.S. Federal Trade Commission has a 40-page document that thoroughly explains what makes an item made in the USA. To earn that designation, a product has to be all or virtually all made in U.S. states or territory. Only automobiles, textiles, fur, and wool must disclose their U.S. content at the point of sale. Other products may use the tag as long as they follow the guidelines. You notice these industries he's talking about. Automobiles, textiles, fur, and wool. All of which was affected under NAFTA. So, foreign or American made? Let's take a closer look at vehicles, shall we? The parts that comprise American-made motorcycles and cars have been shuttled back and forth over North American borders ever since, here we go, the North America Free Trade Agreement was signed in '93. American auto manufacturers like Ford and Chevy depend on parts from Mexico and the EU and often assemble their cars in Canada. American University business professor Frank Dubois created the 2016 Made in America Index as a far more accurate indicator of how much car benefits the U.S. economy. His results reveal the fine line between foreign and domestic. Now, this is really interesting here. For those who beef, and you know what? This can go to motorcycles too here. For those that beef on Honda, listen to this. For instance, Japanese car maker Toyota assembled its 2017 Camry in the U.S. with an American-made engine and transmission. 3/4 of the parts came from either the U.S. or Canada, giving it a total domestic content score of 78.5%. Similarly, Tokyo-based Honda built its Accord in the U.S. with an American engine, Japanese transmission, and 80% U.S. or Canadian parts, giving it a score of 81%. That's Honda, boys. General Motors, Chevy Bolt, on the other hand, contains only 63% domestic content, and half its parts are from outside the U.S. or Canada, even though its its engine is American. The Ford Fusion is even lower. It has a UK built engine, and only a quarter of its parts were made in the US or Canada. So you Ford people out there, now you know why it's found on road dead. Now, a global bike. As far as Harley-Davidson motorcycles is concerned, they may be considered classic American icons, but the components of the bikes themselves come from many places outside the U.S., just like in the auto industry. Harleys sold in the U.S. are indeed assembled in one of the 4 plants located in Wisconsin, Missouri, and Pennsylvania. Quote, sold in the U.S. are made at these factories. But the brakes and the clutch are imported from Italy. The engine pistons are made in Austria. The suspension comes from Japan. And other electrical components originate in Mexico and China. So, you guys that ride metric bikes, you got something to hit all these guys out there talking shit about rice burners and stuff like that. Because, you know, Harley uses suspensions from Japan. Okay? They got nowhere to talk. Nowhere to talk anymore. While Harley-Davidson claims it attempts to use as many American parts as it can, the company is sometimes forced to go abroad to find the right parts in terms of cost and quality. Maybe that's why there's been so many recalls. Hey, I'm not saying nothing, no. As for its plan to avoid the EU counter-sanctions, Harley plans to shift some production of bikes intended for European markets to facilities in other countries such as Thailand, where it's building a new factory. But that won't actually change anything for American consumers, no matter what Trump says, this guy says. In other words, Harleys that Americans buy after plans go into effect will still be as American as they were a year ago, and all the profit Harley makes will continue to flow to the U.S. Oh my God. That's a stupid argument. I hear that one all the time. It does not matter where the product is made. Yeah, it does, because we have our workers here in the United States, and, you know, as Americans, we should be, you know, supporting our blue-collar workers, you dipshits. It doesn't matter where the product is made. What an asshole statement. Anyway, so back to our original question. What does it really mean to be made in America? Since the 1980s, U.S. companies have been using this label in their advertising to push back against foreign competition as global production expanded into Asia and elsewhere. In this era of America First, which it should always have been, the Trump administration has doubled down on this branding. But the truth is that it makes little sense, nor does attacking a U.S. company for moving some of its production that is intended for overseas markets as customers to other countries. You know what? It does. Again, we support our blue-collar workers. And made in America means American jobs, you dipshit, whoever wrote this frickin' article. The meaning of domestic can be very expensive. Well, that's because you had Clinton sign NAFTA. But hey, we'll keep going on. In the 1990s, for example, the U.S. filed a complaint with the WTO against the EU for quotas it set on bananas from Latin America. None of the products in the dispute were made in the U.S. or Europe, but 2 of the biggest growers of banana, Chiquita and whatever the hell this other one is, it's some Spanish one, were headquartered in the U.S. and U.K. respectively. Essentially, both the Clinton and Bush administrations, the first one, as well as officials in the EU, fought over bananas made elsewhere because they figured corporate profits supported a product mattered more than where it was made. Furthermore, consumers also look at other things besides where the product is made. Well, dipshit, when it comes to motorcycles and the lifestyle, yeah, most people want it made in America when it's a Harley-Davidson. Yeah. In 2017 poll, 69% of Americans surveyed said price is very important in considering the purchase of a product. Only 32% said that wasn't a bearing made when it was a U.S. label. Anyway, yeah, Harley-Davidson has that little issue of price, don't they? You got to take a second mortgage out on the house to get a fucking bike. My ass. So the problem with Trump's tariff push is the other things matter more than where something is made. And companies will do what they have to do to stay competitive, even if it means moving overseas. Following Harley's announcement, fellow bike maker Polaris said it was also considering moving some production from Iowa to Portland. Other companies in different industries will likely follow. While Trump may be a hardline with tariffs against U.S. competitors, Americans will likely see negative effects from that move, either in form of jobs being shipped overseas or prices rising due to reciprocal tariffs. You can tell a freaking Democrat wrote this speech. You really can. It's, you know what? It's the same thing with them. It's always the racist or, you know, the racist argument. Everybody's racist. Or you're going to kill jobs. Bullshit. You know what killed jobs was NAFTA. And yes, bikers do care that a product is American made. Again, we support our own people. Anyway, finally, liberal icon, new Democratic star, wade into GOP-heavy Kansas district. The new face of an emerging Democratic, here we go, socialist movement. Join its patriarch in the most unlikely place Friday, calling on Kansas unhappy with the direction of the country to get off the sidelines in a pivotal Republican-held district. We know that people in Kansas, just like everywhere else in the country, just like families in the Bronx, want a fair shake, says Cortez. No, they want fucking handouts. That's what it is. The surprise winner in the New York House primary last month told a frantic crowd of more than 3,000 in a Kansas suburb of Kansas City. Headlining the rally was Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Cortez sought to infuse the final weeks of Democrat Wilder's congressional primary campaign with enthusiasm that lifted her over a 20-year Democratic incumbent rally last month. So those in Canada, or not Canada, well, you might as well move to Canada. You listen to these fucking idiots that are in that district in Canada. Yeah, that's what you're going to get out of this guy that they're supporting is socialist beliefs. Really. In an election year defined by energized Democratic voters seeking to send President Donald Trump a message, Sanders and Cortez were betting they could stir up liberals in places where the left rarely competes. Yeah, liberals. Anyway. The 28-year-old Latina from New York and the 76-year-old Jewish senator from Vermont struck a stark contrast in the hotel ballroom. You know, they're in a hotel ballroom while Trump fills up stadiums. Yeah, okay. Anyway, though they reflected the range of people in the racially and ethnically mixed crowd, weighted towards millennials, but including some gray-haired activists and parents with children. Oh, by the way, when it comes to these protesters, I really encourage people to look at Craigslist and some other sites. See, those outraged protesters you see on TV, yeah, they're actually paid operatives. It's all about the media. It's all about PR, guys. But if you don't believe me, look. Their combined messages sought to unite not just the diverse group in the hall, but restless liberals around the country. Well, whether you live in Kansas or Vermont or New York City, but you want your children to have a decent life, Sanders says. And yes, we have differences, but despite these huge differences, we have a hell of a lot more in common. No. Anyway, Kansas, where Trump won by more than 20 percentage points in 2016, would seem inhospitable for a dual championing strikingly progressive positions such as universal, single-payer health care and government-paid tuition to public college. But Democrats see reason for hope in a campaign year in which progressive candidates have won competitive primaries in GOP-leaning districts in suburban Philadelphia, Omaha, Orange County this year. 32-year-old registered nurse Kristen whatever said she'd grown tired of feeling locked out of representation in Kansas. I wasn't sure when I had a chance to vote for somebody this liberal in Kansas, referring to Welder, a Sanders campaign activist and labor lawyer. Kansas 3rd District, where Welder is competing, represented by 4-term Republican Rep. Yoder, is on Democrats' target list as they aim to seize the GOP-controlled House in November. Nationally, the party must pick up 23 Republican-held seats to claim the House majority, and they are focusing on 25 districts where Clinton won or Trump won narrowly. Democrats have been shut out of statewide and congressional races in Kansas since 2010. Well, that's a good thing, because, anywhere a Democrat holds a majority, especially here in Illinois, they kill the fucking state to destroy it. Shit, look at Look at Detroit, Chicago, L.A. I can go on. Anyway, earlier Friday, Cortez and Sanders headlined a rally in Wichita for Thompson, a civil rights attorney running in Kansas 4th District. He also was an activist for Sanders' 2016 campaign. So, as you can see, the Democratic Party is now heading to the socialist bent. So, if you like places like Venezuela, or a lot of these Latin American countries, or China, or all that kind of stuff, I suggest you go move there, because maybe you should actually get a taste of what it really is to be a socialist. And you know what? It is kind of funny. They go around calling everybody racist and stuff, these Democrats, and now they're embracing the socialist movement. You know who else was a socialist? Yeah, Hitler. He was a nationalist socialist, you dumbasses. And that's the biker angle for today. You guys keep safe out there, enjoy it, and party it up wide. And don't forget, listen to Motorcycle Madhouse today at 1.